As many of you may have noticed, the price of Pokemon cards has been steadily increasing, sometimes not even steadily, sometimes it just jumps up for no reason. But it's not for just no reason, which is what I wanted to talk about today. For the last 8 months, there's been a pandemic, in case you didn't know. But why has that made the price of trading cards go up so much? Some of the reasons are pretty obvious. You have people that are stuck inside. A lot of people don't have jobs. They're at home all day, lots of more free time than they had before, and that's more time to maybe get into a hobby that they've always liked but never had the time to invest into. Also, more time for self-reflection, thinking about your childhood, different memories you've had with certain franchises or properties or collectibles, and so naturally you get online, you start to look at these older collectibles, start to get that itch to actually order some of them, and that's how we end up where we're at now. The nostalgia market was already huge. That's one of the reasons that the Pokemon TCG has sustained itself for so long, is there's a secondary market of people that are hitting their 30s and saying like, man, Pokemania was great, and like remembering what it was like to be a kid opening base set and jungle packs. And so they want to get those for themselves now. They're adults. They can afford to have those luxury collectibles and kind of relive those happy memories. So right away, there's an increase in demand from the original Pokemon generation, my generation, the people that are in their early 30s right now. But Pokemon never went away. Every generation subsequently after my generation has had a Pokemon game, a Pokemon generation of anime, of games, of TCG that they may also be wanting to relive in this moment. So not only do you have that initial spike in demand that you would see in a lot of other collectible markets, like with 80s action figures, your He-Man, your Turtles, your G.I. Joes, but also across multiple generations. And you can see this if you look at the price of Pokemon games. Ruby and Sapphire have only gotten more expensive. Diamond and Pearl have only gotten more expensive. Even games from last generation like Sun and Moon. But there's also a flip side to that increase in demand for trading cards, for collectibles in general. And that is the fact that a lot of people, because they're out of work, a lot of people are strapped for cash, they're taking this time off from work to clean out closets, basements, attics, go through old things, find all of these old relics from their childhood like trading cards and action figures, and try to turn that into cash to sustain themselves during a pandemic. So what we've also seen is an increase in supply. You suddenly have a lot more vintage Pokemon TCG content hitting the web, or people walking into comic shops or card shops, game shops, saying, hey, I've got this big stack of Pokemon cards, I don't know what it's worth, I just need some cash. And then that's how the market is starting to kind of get flooded again with all of these old cards. But through economic law, if your supply is increasing and your demand's also increasing, the price should not increase. So what exactly is going on? Well, it's unique to this pandemic we have going on, especially here in the US, where things have been handled horribly, and the pandemic looks like it's going to continue for a very long time. One of these unique conditions is that a lot of people are still working. The country is open, a lot of people are just going out, living their normal lives, even though that is not recommended. But at the start of this, they also got that fat pandemic stimulus check that a lot of people just said, well, this is extra money, and so they're able to actually sink that into their hobbies, into more collectibles. Another of these unique conditions is that there's more limited access to your comic shops, your flea markets, your peddlers malls, and your convention floors. Me personally, I would just wait every year for an anime convention to stock up on anime merch because it's typically more expensive online to pre-order. If you find it in person, you can usually haggle and get a deal on it. Well, there's not conventions this year. There's probably not going to be conventions next year. And so people are going online. You're home anyway, spending a lot more time on Facebook, on eBay. There's such a greater access to all this stuff. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of people trying to sell things quickly to get money while there's also a lot of people that just have extra money that are wanting to take advantage of these situations and really build their collection more. Because if you're stuck inside, you can't see your family, you can't see your friends, you can't, sit in a bar, you can't go to restaurants and enjoy a meal like you did before. If you're stuck at home, why not surround yourself with things you love, with things that make you happy? While this has hit a lot of different markets, like your action figures, your comics, even like antique coin collecting has seen an increase. Trading cards and comics are especially appealing because they're numbered. A lot of people are really high on anxiety right now, and so it feels really good to put things in a correct order and to complete sets. Say, okay, yeah, I've got these 100 cards numbered 1 through 100 and they're all together. That feels great. There's also a lot of depth to trading card games that people probably don't realize from the surface level. Like with Pokemon, yes, you have a certain number of cards for each set. Each Pokemon's different, but also there's this huge collector's market that is very focused on the grading and condition of different cards, and also different types of errors that show up. The deep side of the collector's market, while you also have the deep side of the competitive market, where certain cards may not be collectible because they're not pretty, they're not holographic, but they may be really good. Take Cleffa, for example. It is a rare card in Neo Genesis, but there's nothing really special about it other than it's so good that you need 4 of them in every competitive deck you build. And this increase in price has also hit Cleffa. It's not just, your Charizards and your Blastoise from base set. It's also cards that are competitively good because people, especially people on this channel, I've seen a lot of comments recently saying, hey, I collected cards as a kid. I have these huge stacks of them, but with my increase in free time, I've wanted to learn how to actually battle them, because as a kid, nobody actually battled, they just collected. And so people are hitting YouTube, they're learning about vintage formats, they're wanting to build decks and play with those cards that they have fond memories of, but experiencing them in a new way, which is battling. And so you can't really get away from the increase in price. It's not very good for people like me, like people that frequent the channel that are constantly deck building, buying new cards. For instance, I don't have very many e-reader cards, but I've been wanting to build some e-reader decks, but for a multitude of reasons, those cards are very, very expensive now. I may do a different video on why e-reader sets are so expensive. The last huge factor that I want to talk about is one that has come to light for me personally here recently. A while back, maybe like 2 years ago or so, I did a video about base set Pikachu. And one of the main features in that video is the difference between the red cheeks Pikachu and the yellow cheeks Pikachu. And that video was averaging about 3 views per day. And then suddenly, just a couple weeks ago, it was averaging 200 and then 300 views per day. And I had no idea why. Turns out it's because Logan Paul did a video where he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Pokemon cards and did openings for his channel. And he talked about getting Yellow Cheeks Pikachu versus Red Cheeks Pikachu. And that prompted people to come to my channel and try to figure out what that meant. So I wanted to do some more investigating. I went to Logan Paul's channel, watched some of his Pokemon openings. And this dude is spending a lot of money on cards. And I get that for the YouTube community, it's important for these big YouTubers to be able to do the types of videos they do, bring in these millions of views, make millions of dollars off of them with ad revenue. That does help bring in new viewers and build communities like I've tried to do with my content, to build a community of vintage Pokemon TCG players. And Logan Paul's videos have gotten a lot more attention for the vintage Pokemon TCG because he is buying like these classic base set boxes and doing these openings, trying to get expensive cards like Charizards, and then he's also buying expensive single cards. And so thanks to his videos and his large viewership, some of my videos have gotten more viewership as well. But Logan Paul is also kind of a moronic piece of shit. Like, he bought a fake card for $150,000 and then as a joke punched a window and had to get stitches, which is its own thing. Like, it's just not what I'm into. But what this also does is normalize overpaying for cards just because you have nostalgia for them. Because of the over dramatization that he's pumped into these videos, people think that it's okay to just go pay $70 for a Blastoise because it's shiny and it's pretty and you remember it from when you're 10. And it's not just eBay prices and Facebook marketplace prices, because local game shops base their prices on the online sales. And so even at the local game shops that I've been in here recently, they've jacked up the prices on their single cards too. To the point at which I thought it was a joke. I walk into my local game shop and they have a base set Charizard in the display case with a price tag of $920. It wasn't shadowless, it wasn't graded, but apparently they think that someone can come in and want to pay that price for it. Otherwise they wouldn't have put it on there. And again, it's not just trading cards. I've seen the same thing happen with comics. I collect comics, and issues that used to be in the dollar bin are now going for $10 each. N64 games, PS2 game, GameCube games that were, a year ago, $20 to $30 each are now $70 to $80 each. Look, I also understand going into making this video that these are all collectibles. I don't need any of this stuff, so I don't really need to buy all this stuff online. The reason that I'm kind of up in arms about it is because it is so ridiculous that you have this artificial inflation because people are putting more importance on these collectibles than they really deserve, and it's going above and beyond what the nostalgia market had already done to, comics and collectibles and games. In particular, for my channel, I usually encourage people to go, hey, playing with physical cards is fun, and there's not really an online venue that you can play these vintage formats yet. And so people, they go on eBay and they want to order a playset of Cleffa, because in order to play a competitively viable Rocket On deck or Neo On deck, you need 3 or 4 Cleffa, and they used to be $7 or $8 each until these past 8 months, and now the price is up to about $15 each. And so the entry point for what I'm encouraging on my channel is all of a sudden $60 for just one playset of cards. And that's not to mention the increase in annoying comments I get below videos that say, oh, I've got the Hitmonchan from this video, how much is that worth? Go to Google, type in Hitmonchan card, find the picture that matches, and it'll tell you. I feel like leaving a comment on a YouTube video and waiting for someone to respond is the least efficient way to find that information. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for listening to my rant about why my pieces of cardboard are too much money now. In this weird complainy PSA style video. But if you do want to see more vintage Pokemon TCG content, stick to the channel. I'll be uploading lots of stuff soon. Down in the comments, I would love to hear your horror stories about trying to purchase cards either in person or off of eBay, just trying to build decks. Stay tuned to the channel for lots of new content soon, and until next video, bye!